phrase, don't hate the player, hate the game? That's something that's been on my mind for a while now, actually for a very long while, and I finally decided to make a video about this to talk about it and get to the bottom of it. Before we start, I'm gonna ask you a simple question. Are you on the player side or the game side when something goes wrong in regards to don't hate the player, hate the game? Are you on the player side or the game side? Let me know down below. Now, in case you have no idea what I'm talking about, and also to kind of add context, if you just happen to randomly click this video, don't hate the player, hate the game is kind of like an excuse that people usually use when they find something broken in a game and then justify playing like that. And before we start, I'm not talking about meta play. Metas will obviously form with any game, whether you're playing Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball games, Street Fighter, Mario Party has, meta play you can use. I'm not talking about that. Metas will always form because at some point once people play a game, they learn to optimize it, and then kind of everybody does it, especially if it's in a competitive environment where everybody tries to keep up. When I say don't hate the play, hate the game, I'm referring to the super annoying, toxic, cheesy shit. And this exists also in every single game. Because unfortunately, when it comes down to it, the developers can't find everything that's going to be possibly a loophole that gets abused online. Especially in games that have online. It's always going to exist. Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis is actually a good example to talk about this. I guess you have no idea what that is. Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis is a brand new official format that Konami announced recently, and the idea is to unban every single card from the Forbidden List, which I know sounds kind of crazy. But they let you play any card in the game. Of the 20,000 cards, you can build any deck that you want. However, the caveat is, of the 20,000 something cards that exist, 593, I believe, are a part of this list, and you can have no more than 100 points in your deck, which means those most important cards that make these decks very, very powerful, you have to make sure, do I want to waste all my points on this? So it's a lot more balanced. So I was excited about this. However, the very first thing I saw is you had players online and on Twitter talking about, oh, we can play this deck, and it's like the most toxic, annoying shit of all time. And I remember seeing this, I'm like, why would you even show this? Are there people who just get off of school, work, whatever, and then they go to locals and then bring decks like this? It's like, bro, nobody likes you. There's no fun, there's no interaction. You're just annoying. And it's like, don't hate the player, hate the game. The game is designed like this. Now, luckily, Konami immediately stepped in a week later. They added the points and they knocked these decks up. But then I immediately see people saying, but now we can do this and that and this. It's like you have people who immediately their first thought is, how can I be annoying? And again, this exists in every single game. Spark Zero is a good example. Spark Zero comes out. Tenkaishi's back for the first time in 17 years. We're all excited. We're ecstatic. We're playing online the first couple weeks and we're having a good time. Until people figure out, wait a minute, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this, and not everyone's doing it. Spark Zero's biggest thing I can think about that comes off the top of the head is when people are flying up and down with androids until the timer ran out. And they just also did that in an official tournament. And my favorite thing was the excuses that everybody was using is oh, we're just trying to show Bandai how broken it is. Bro, they already knew. You're just being an asshole and you're justifying it. Well, it's in the game. I want to win this tournament. I'm gonna do it. And it's like, no, you won the corniest way. It's like you got the trophy, but the rest of us, all these eyeballs across the world saw you being a cornball online, and you were like, it's in the game, I'm gonna do that. And sure, to some extent, that you're not wrong. It is what it is. I guess if it's a tournament, it's by any means necessary. But still, it's like, we all saw you play corny. You spent $80, $90, $70, $100 for this game to fly up and down. To pick Yajirobe and just time out with the sense of being and win that way. It's like, how are you having fun? It can't be fun. And again, these playstyles exist everywhere. No matter what game, at some point something will be broken because it's impossible once again for a developer to create something or a creator to make something and know every possible flaw. It's not until a lot of eyes get on this product or whatever your game, and then you have all these eyes looking into it oh, we can do this. That's when the broken stuff pops up, and that's when it gets nerfed, fixed, and patched and stuff like that. But it's why do people intentionally seek to be annoying is what I want to know. Again, once more time, I'm not talking about meta play because I know this is going to get misconstrued and people are going to be like, yeah, I hate it when people play the best possible character in this game or the best possible decks in this card game or the best possible way in Mario Party. It's not what I'm talking about. That's just optimizing. I'm talking about just the annoying toxic shit that doesn't always work, but when it pops up every now and then, you're just annoyed. It's like, well, why do you do that? Xenoverse is a good example as well. When Xenoverse first came out, the developers created this game that allowed you, the player, to create yourself in this game and kind of add points into your stat system however you want. How much HP you want, how much stamina, how much ki. Are you a strike-based character, key-based character? It was dope until people realized, oh, wait a minute, what if I put all my points into one thing, then go online and do one attack and win? I'm gonna do that. And it's like, how are you having fun? I mean, I get to some extent it's your custom character you created in your head that has the whole story. It's like, yeah, My character's so powerful, I can one-shot you. I get that, but it's like, you can't be having fun at that point. You guys remember when Xenoverse came out? In case you don't, there was a thing called Go-Go Gum. And what Go-Go Gum did, it was an unblockable attack that once it touched you, you get like coiled up in this like gum. And then they did this attack called I think Flash Bomber. It was a Dragon Ball GT attack from, I believe, Android. It's either Android Super 17 or it was Omega Shenron, one of the two. But what it is when you're coiled up, they do this attack, which is like a shotgun attack, but they do a point blank, and every, I guess, Ki Blast hits you and then one-shots you. For a while, that's what people are doing online to win. And it's like, how are you having fun? Like, what is it about that? Like, how many times can you go online, do that, back to back, get your free wins, and still have fun? I don't get that. I mean, I guess there's some people whose entire life is just being a troll, and they get like a big, weird kink out of that. Maybe that's what it is. But I just don't understand it. But ultimately, it comes down to, like, is it the player's fault when something gets ruined, or is it the game's fault? You know, with Sparking Zero, a lot of people will argue it's the players. The players ruined the game in the beginning. But those players will also say, well, it's in the game, so it's how I'm supposed to play. That's what I want to know. It's like, where do you guys stand with this? Now, I will say with Sparking Zero, a lot of people kept using the it's supposed to be unbalanced crutch in the beginning, and they don't understand that when Tenkaichi 3 was unbalanced, it meant that if you picked GT, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and took on Krillin, his super attack did 10,000 damage instead of like 7. That was what unbalanced was. You know, you have faster combos, less ability to get staggered, stuff like that. That's what unbalanced meant. But then when we went online in Sparking Zero, people flying up and down calling that it's supposed to be unbalanced. No, that's an exploit. You're being annoying. That's not the same thing. I don't know. I see this in every single game, regardless of what it is. You know, a good example also, if we go all the way back, was Super Mario Bros. On the Nintendo, which I know we're getting super old school with it. But there are people who are legit playing that game using the warps, the warp pipe. I think like every like 3 worlds, you can get a warp pipe to get to the very end. And people essentially were just not even playing the game. They were just jumping from pipe to pipe to pipe, and then within 7 minutes, they beat the entire game. And it's like, you just spent like, you know, $40-$50 to get Mario to not even play it. It's like, what? Why? I mean, granted, you could argue, well, there's speedrunning, sure. But at the time, speedrunning wasn't even a thing. People were just legit just skipping the game to get to the end, beat it, and be done with it. And it's like, why'd you buy it if you didn't want to play it? No, so it's like, but to be fair, that is technically tech. It's like a secret. It's a cool little Easter egg that they put in the games. But like, mostly looking at it from a perspective of like, well, how are you having fun not playing the game? I guess is the question I'm asking. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this happens a lot, and regardless of what game comes out, this happens all over the place. Again, one more time, I'm not talking about meta play, because I know people are gonna use an excuse to be like, well, if you play the best deck in Yu-Gi-Oh, this is you. It's like, no, we're talking about stun players, for example. If we're gonna talk about Yu-Gi-Oh stun players, there's players in Yu-Gi-Oh, they will play those decks that win once every like 10 duels. And they play the most annoying cards, but it's not even the game. You set like one card, end your turn, and your opponent can't play, and then they scoop, and it's like, yeah, I won! No, I mean, you did, but you won because you just happened to open up that one card that floods your opponent out, which means, a floodgate, for example, which means your opponent can't do anything. It's like, you're not playing. You set a card, went to them, they ended their turn, and then surrender because they can't play. It's like, it's not fun. But at the same time, I also know some people are just miserable and angry at the world, and at some point, they play like that because they want to get back at the people who've been playing, I guess, modern Yu-Gi-Oh! The way that they wanted to play. I don't know. It just happens everywhere. Ultimately, I just want to ask, the big question, is it the player's fault when something is annoying or broken in the game, or is it truly the game's fault? My opinion, I say it's a little bit of both, but I will still heavily point towards the players more than anything, because like no matter how often a game gets fixed in any game that exists, people will always find a way to be annoying right after that happens. You can see it in anything that exists out there, you know? Look at the next time something gets patched out in like Fighters, you know, or in Xenoverse, or in Sparking, or the next Forbidden List that happens in Yu-Gi-Oh! The second they fix something, they'll find something else to be annoying with, you know? Yu-Gi-Oh! Is infamous because like, with Yu-Gi-Oh! It happens like literally within seconds. Like, for example, let's say they ban, here's a good example. In case you have no idea what I'm talking about, in Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a archetype called Branded. And it's pretty powerful, it's pretty good, it's a lot of fun. But what people usually use it with is this card called Sanctifier, which what it does is it summons a card on both your field and your opponent's field. So what they normally do is they summon Sanctifier, and then when it's your turn, they summon this card onto your field that says you can't summon. The funny thing is, Brandon is pretty good. Brandon doesn't need to do that. if you set up a good branded board, you can still do a lot of like interactions and back and forth with your opponent that makes it enjoyable. But what people end up doing mostly is they create that board and then they summon a card that says you can't play it. It's like, what's the point? The reason I bring this up is because they banned the card that they summoned to your field. And what did branded players do? They found the other card that exists that they can do it with. They banned that card. They did the same thing. Now, technically, this is where it counts as the game's fault. You could just ban Sanctifier to like make sure this doesn't exist. However, Sanctifier is important to like the story of the branded card, so I guess that's why they don't do it. And instead, they just keep on banning the cards that they summon your field that shuts your field off. Which again, it's still not the best because it's like, at some point you're gonna have to hit the card. Obviously, Sanctifier is a problem here. And you can't keep banning everything because every time you ban one card, they'll find the next one that they can put in your field. But either way, it's like, it's still players being annoying, you know what I mean? Despite it being part of the game, it's the players that are just being annoying here for whatever reason. And again, if you take it to a tournament, I guess you can justify, you know, by any means necessary. But we're talking about people who do this at locals. They show up and duel that one person who just got off of work and they're looking forward to play Yu-Gi-Oh all day, and they lock them out from playing. It's like, or homies do it to each other. It's like, ha, you can't play. It's like, cool, you're so cool. Like, yes, we'd have a nice back and forth, you know. And in other games, whether it be Xenoverse, Sparking, whatever, you have people flying up and down, which they patched out, obviously. But in the beginning of the game's life cycle, they were flying up and down. And that actually also did irreparable damage to Sparking. Like, once people start seeing them doing that online, they stop playing. And ultimately led to the decline of the game. It's like, you helped decline the game that you like. And now that no one wants to play your game, you're like, why does no one play my game? Because you were annoying. You helped be annoying in the beginning and pushed everyone away. That's what kind of bugs me about stuff like this. Is like, ultimately, yes, poor game design can hurt the game, but players also choosing to play like that helps expedite the death of a game, expedite the decline of a game. And that's what I kind of want to bring up. So that said, now that we got to the end of the video, I want to ask you once again, is it the player's fault when something is broken, or is it the game's fault? And also, if we want to toss in a bonus, how do you choose to play? I'm gonna tell you right now, if you comment and say, oh, I play toxic as possible, that's perfectly okay. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from the toxic players that choose to lock their opponents out in Yu-Gi-Oh, that choose to fly up and down in Sparking Zero, or the ones that choose to use Go-Go Gun when it was available in Xenoverse 2. Like, what is it about that was just enjoyable to you? Is it just because you want to be a troll and ruin people's days, or you just don't give a shit? Like, this is a video for discussion. Now, something else I want to keep in mind is if people start arguing with each other, try to remember we're having a dialogue here. Like, obviously, you're going to get people on both sides. They're going to be in the comments of this video. Or maybe we'll get all, you know, pro players or pro the game side. I have no clue what we're going to see in the comments. But try to be nice to each other. Like, try to have a conversation and figure out what is it that makes people tick when it comes down to play styles. So yeah, that said, that's everything I can think about in my head. And so yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in the comment section below.